I could easily sit here for hours telling you all about the great things that are parts of Morrowind. And by the same token, I could easily sit here for hours talking about all the things that I wish were better about the game. One thing's for sure, it's just a really, really, really enormous game. It's probably the biggest video game ever. Morrowind is actually the third installment of a pretty well-known computer role-playing game series. It was really highly anticipated on the PC, and it finally came out earlier this year, just about a month ago, and it received just widespread acclaim, both from critics and from gamers alike, who were just really impressed at how big this game really was. But if you're up for a serious challenge and you're interested in the idea of, being a part of what really does seem like a whole nother world, then Morrowind is absolutely very easy to recommend. It's a unique game among video games. Morrowind for the Xbox is nearly identical to the PC version that was released earlier. There are only some minor differences. The PC version ships with some bugs in it, which have been cleared up. For the Xbox version, that's a pretty important point. On the other hand, the PC version ships with what's called the Morrowind construction set, which is this kind of big utility that lets you create your own levels, and you can download them into your game and extend the replay value even longer. The Xbox version doesn't have that, so you'll only get the 200 hours of gameplay as opposed to who knows how many. Beyond that, Morrowind for the Xbox looks just like the PC version running on a pretty good system. There's a ton of detail in the graphics. You can see all the kind of different kinds of clothing and armor and different faces of all the characters. But the environments themselves are really what look the best. It's just some really nice looking scenery in the game. The frame rate stays relatively smooth. It does kind of fluctuate to some extent, but it's pretty good. You get used to it very quickly. It's not a fast-paced game, so whenever the frame rate dips, it doesn't really matter. As mentioned, the game itself is just completely open-ended. You could create your character in one of three different ways. You could either choose from a long list of different character classes like a barbarian and assassin and nightblade and stuff like that, or you could choose to answer a series of moral questions, at which point the game will recommend a class to you based on your answers. But the most interesting option is to create your own character class, where you choose a series of major and minor skills for your character, and based on those you'll have different proficiencies throughout the game. Morrowind's experience system is pretty interesting. You gain levels and experience just from practicing the skills that are inherent to your character class. So for instance, if you're a thief, then you gain levels by doing thieving type things, by pickpocketing people, by sneaking around, maybe by running and jumping and that sort of thing. That concept makes perfect sense, but on the other hand, some of the skills in Morrowind don't really work that well, and some of them are pretty unbalanced actually. It's just much easier to improve in some skills than in others. Though there's kind of a main storyline, there are also tons and tons of side quests. You can align yourself with one of many different factions, from things like thieves guilds and fighters guilds to more interesting things like kind of a government-sanctioned assassins guild and also religious cults. And they'll all give you various assignments that you could go on, and as you complete these, you'll rank up within that faction. Again, this creates a lot of possible replay value. There's just no way that you could possibly see everything in Morrowind the first time through, probably even the second. Though it's got a huge world and no shortage of different things that it lets you do, in some ways Morrowind does feel like a bit of a case of quantity over quality in terms of how some of the individual gameplay elements work. Most importantly, perhaps, the combat in Morrowind isn't very good. There's just no feedback as to what's going on. You'll know when you hit an enemy because you'll see like a big red gush of blood and you'll hear like a thwack sound. But other than that, you have no idea how much damage you did. You have no idea how much health the enemy has. There's just no indication of how well or how poorly you're doing against an opponent. That's too bad, because combat is one of the only aspects of Morrowind that's kind of unavoidable. Over the course of the main story, you'll inevitably have to fight in some areas. So unless you pick a character that has at least some decent fighting skills, you'll be in trouble. Some of the other issues are more minor, but still kind of irritating, like the process of lock-picking or disarming traps is pretty disappointing. You basically just use lock-picks or things called probes over and over again until you finally disarm the device. There's no real chance of failure. You can just try again and again until you finally get it. Morrowind's originally a PC game, but it plays great on the Xbox. It basically plays just like Halo, where you use the right analog stick to look around and the left analog stick to move. The other buttons do various things like equip your weapon or get you ready to use magic or call up your journal and things like that, but really it's not hard to play Morrowind, and that's nice because you'll spend a lot of time just looking around and seeing all the various sites, figuring out what to do. Since you're bombarded with different quests and a lot of information in Morrowind, it can get pretty overwhelming just trying to figure out, what, if anything, you're supposed to be doing at any particular time. Fortunately, none of the quests are time-sensitive, so you can kind of go at your own pace, take as long as you want. As mentioned, Morrowind is not a fast-paced game. You don't move quickly or anything. It's just really a game that you need to devote a lot of time to. It's hard to overstate just how enormous Morrowind is and just how much stuff you can do and just how much you can get out of it. That's easily the most amazing thing about the game. As mentioned, not all of the individual components are that satisfying, but this is clearly a game where the sum of the various parts is just very impressive, all told. On the other hand, it does mean that Morrowind isn't a game for absolutely everybody. This is not Final Fantasy, this is not a conventional console RPG. Only look into this game if you're ready to devote a lot of time and a lot of patience to a game that really takes a lot out of you. It's just got a lot of really interesting stuff going on. It's got entire libraries filled with books that you can spend a lot of time reading. It's just an enormous world. You can tell the game spent years in the making. You can tell it was a labor of love by the developers. And you can tell it's designed with hardcore players in mind. So if you're that type of player, then you absolutely ought to check it out.
Wake up. We're here. Why are you shaking? Are you okay? Wake up.